The Tennessee Titans got smoked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but Cam Ward looked great. I'm breaking it down on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, on today's show, we're going to break down everything you need to know from the Tennessee Titans Week 1 preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Titans got smoked in the game, and we'll certainly get into why that is, but we got to start with Cam Ward, who I thought was fantastic in what he needed to accomplish in this game. We're going to break down Cam Ward's entire performance. We're going to talk about that connection that he's obviously already got going with Calvin Ridley. We'll talk about the performance of the offensive line as well and get into some of the issues specifically on defense. Before we dive into all of that, though, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. The season is right around the corner. The Titans have 2 joint practices this week against the Atlanta Falcons. They have another preseason game next weekend. And again, another one after that. I break it down every single day, 7 days a week at this point here on the Locked On Titans podcast. So make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Cam Ward had a tough start, all right? He comes out in that very first drive. The Titans offense has a 3-and-out, in my opinion, and I'm going to break down the tape on the Tic Tac Titans channel this week, so make sure you get subscribed over there. But I thought Cam Ward was late on the first throw to Van Jefferson on second down. I thought he was a little too far to the right as well. Van Jefferson sat down in the right spot in the zone. And Ward was a little late, in my opinion. I know not everyone agrees with that assessment, but we'll see what the tape has to say. Then on third down, nowhere to go. It's a coverage situation. Cam tried to keep things alive, but I would rather that ball be a little further out of bounds than literally on the sideline. That's how bad things happen. So glad nothing bad happened there, but a little bit of a rough start. But man, that second drive. When Cam Ward went out there in that second drive, he looked so poised. He looked so in command. Those are the things that really stood out to me. We'll talk about the individual throws and the arm talent and the athleticism and all the things that get you excited from that perspective. But what I love the most from Cam Ward is all the things that I asked about. My expectations going into this game. I wanted a clean operation. I wanted no pre-snap penalties. I wanted to look like a professional quarterback and a professional offense out there. And that is exactly what they look like. They had the penalty with Calvin Ridley on the wide receiver screen with the offensive pass interference or whatever, but no false starts, no illegal shifts or illegal motions, no delay of games. There weren't problems getting the play call in and with the operation of the offense overall. So that's what I'm most impressed with Cam Ward is he looked like a professional quarterback who was ready for the moment. He is ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's what I'm most excited about. But of course, you get into each of the individual throws out there. Cam Ward was 5 for 8, 67 yards. He led a 65-yard touchdown drive on that second drive. The strike on the deep sit route off play action to Calvin Ridley for 27 yards. There's the explosive pass play that I was hoping to see from Cam Ward. And here's what I like the most, is Cam Ward was able to battle through adversity. The Titans get that penalty. It's 1st and 20. What does Cam Ward do? Out route to Calvin Ridley for 13 yards. Out route to Calvin Ridley for 10 yards. Just absolutely lighting it up with Calvin Ridley. And we'll talk about that more later when we get into the rest of the offense. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just, hey, it's 1st and 20. How many times last year, you tell me, how many times last year was the Tennessee Titans offense able to overcome a 1st and 20? How many times were the Tennessee Titans offense last year with Will Levis, how many times were they able to overcome a penalty at any point during the drive? They weren't. So it isn't just that Cam Ward was able to convert multiple third downs that were over 5 yards. But he battled through adversity to the point where it's 1st and 20, and in 2 plays, it didn't even take 3 plays. It didn't even take all 3 plays. He said, quick 13, quick 10, first down, let's keep the drive going. Yeah, we're on our way to a score, right? 65 yards, we're on our way to a score. That's what we want to do. So, again, it's staying clean. It's staying clean. No pre-snap penalties, proper operation, getting the play call in, not taking delay of games, getting your guys lined up in the right spot, reading the defense pre-snap. It's staying clean when you're clean. But when you roll in the mud, which is going to happen, and you get the penalty and it's 1st and 20, or you're behind the chains on 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 6, can you get yourself back clean? And Cam Ward not only can stay clean, but if he does get dirty, he can get clean as well. And that's what we saw out there tonight against Tampa Bay. And for him to do that in his debut performance, his first real live snaps in the NFL, I don't care if the majority of the defense for Tampa Bay was second string players. I know that the haters are going to come with that already. I don't care. Again, I did it in my short video before the game, and I continue to say it now. Preseason matters in certain ways. Does it matter who wins? No, it doesn't matter who wins, but that doesn't mean that the little nooks and crannies of preseason games aren't ever important and incredibly important to the growth of players, to the growth of a team. Like, to me, to say preseason doesn't matter, it excuses people who don't pay attention to the preseason from caring about it. No, just because you don't want to pay attention to the preseason doesn't mean that it doesn't matter and that it's devalued. It matters very much. The wins and losses don't, but Cam Ward coming out there and, again, running a clean operation on offense, and then being able to fight through adversity and overcome setbacks and issues, that is incredibly important for Cam Ward's growth going forward and what we can expect from him going into the season. So again, sit down route to Calvin Ridley for 27 yards. 2 out routes to Calvin Ridley to come back from the 1st and 20. Then it's 3rd and 9. 3rd and 9, what does Cam Ward do? Drive one home to Chigakonkwo across the middle of the field, right at the sticks for 10 yards. Then you're down in the red zone. It's tougher in the red zone, right? Cam Ward struggled in the red zone team drills a couple of practices ago over the weekend, right? He struggled there. Well, he started to do better in the red zone drills in Wednesday's practice, and then in the red zone practice, and then you come out here in the preseason game, red zone, 3rd and 6, hit the drag route to Tyler Lockett against man coverage. Lockett gets 7 yards, gets the first down. Now we got 2 runs to Tony Pollard, and we got points on the board. Professional quarterback Cam Ward looked ready. So when I say I thought Cam Ward was fantastic, when I do the thumbnail and it says Cam Ward shines against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's what I'm talking about. Look, he went 5 for 8. For 67 yards, no touchdown passes. Again, there was bad in there. I'm not just trying to have a donut shop here and have a glaze fest. That's not what we're doing here. He had a near interception down the sideline when he tried to force one against cover 2 into Elikayo manner, and the cornerback dropped back and had it in his hands and dropped it. Again, gunslinger mentality. We're going to deal with some of these high-risk throws from Cam Ward, but they just need to pay off more than they hurt you. That's the gambit with the gunslinger. But outside of what I think was a bad play by Cam Ward on the first throw of the game, and then the throwaway I wish was a little more outside, that's 3 plays that the first 2 are marginal. You could say I'm nitpicking at that point. We'll watch the film and break that down and see what it says. But other than the near interception, he got rolling on that second drive, and it's like, oh, step in the pocket, sidearm delivery, Calvin Ridley, explosive pass play, fighting through the adversity. Again, I've talked about it. The operation was professional. He showed the swagger that we all are so excited about and the aura that we need from the Titans QB. I never sound older and cornier as a middle-aged man than I do when I say aura. I don't even say it right. I know, but I can't help it. It's just in. That's what it is. But that's the best way to describe Cam Ward. So the operation was professional. He played with swagger and showed the talent that we've been waiting to see on the field, and he fought through adverse moments more than we ever saw last year from the Tennessee Titans offense. So couldn't be happier about the boxes that Cam Ward checked off. But listen, it wasn't just the Cam Ward show. Calvin Ridley looked like Calvin Ridley, and boy, if you're playing fantasy football, Calvin Ridley's the one. But let's talk about the offensive line. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or you're planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. I didn't realize how much I was spending on online shopping until I got Monarch. Now I can track my spending, and I've been getting into investing as well. So tracking my spending, my investments, my accounts all in one place makes it so simple. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down the Tennessee Titans preseason opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, I thought Cam Ward checked all the boxes I wanted to see. It wasn't perfect, but I didn't expect perfection, but he honestly exceeded my expectations. So I thought Cam Ward shined against the Bucs in his 2 drives. I thought Cam Ward played fantastic for what my expectations were. Now, he wasn't the only person on the offense that I thought did a great job. Let's talk Calvin Ridley, the weapons. Let's talk the offensive line, who deserves a little bit of credit as well. And we are going to talk about some things that didn't go as well. Tyjae Spears' his injury and some of the depth concerns specifically on defense. So we're going to get to that, but want to continue talking about things that I liked from this game. And again, Calvin Ridley. Sit down route over the middle. And what I love the most on that play is catches the ball, gets upfield, and continues to fight through contact. You can just tell that Calvin Ridley is on demon time this year. And I think that there is a good reason to believe that Calvin Ridley is going to be even better this year than he was last year. Number one, of course, he's going to get better quarterback play from Cam Ward. But remember, Calvin Ridley was in his first year back from a long 1-year suspension and coming off a major injury where he missed time with Atlanta. He goes to Jacksonville. He's used incorrectly as an X wide receiver in that offense. Comes to Tennessee. It's a terrible offense with bad quarterback play, and now he gets to play Z, so it's a new position. All of that coming off of 18-month, 20-month absence from the NFL. Calvin Ridley's finally settled. He's finally comfortable for the first time since that long break. He's got better quarterback play than he's had. I think Calvin Ridley is to the moon. And to see, remember back last year, Calvin Ridley and Will Levis could not get on the same page. It was reports every day out of training camp that they miss on these deep balls, that he's open, and they're not completing passes. We saw it in some joint practices. We saw it in some preseason games. They just couldn't get on the same page. Cam Ward right away in practices, in training camp, in joint practices, in the preseason games. Already his connection is absolutely fantastic with Calvin Ridley. So you could say it's just preseason. They had this player out there. They didn't have this player. I don't care. That connection is clearly light years ahead of where it was last year with Will Levis. So I'm allowed to be excited about the connection between Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward. I cannot wait to break down those throws on Cam Ward's film breakdown that I do. And remember, the Tic Tac Titans YouTube channel is where I break down all of the film content. I'm going to have so many different videos coming out this week just off a preseason game. Can't wait to get all that content to you guys. Make sure you subscribe over there and subscribe here. There is a reason the Locked On Titans podcast has been the #1 Tennessee Titans podcast in the world for multiple years running. If you're not an everydayer, you need to be, because I'm always coming with the content, whether it's the film, the conversation, the breakdowns, doesn't matter. I got you. Get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. But let's talk about the offensive lineman. So look, I know this wasn't the best version of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive front. All right, there was no Hassan Reddick, no Vita Vea. I understand that. But that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive front that was out there tonight would have given last year's Tennessee Titans offensive line trouble. Okay? You know it. I know it. We all know the truth. This Tampa Bay Buccaneers semi-backup defensive pass rush is still enough to give last year's Tennessee Titans offensive line problems. So to see the Titans offensive line handle them, it looked like a first-team offensive line against a second-string defensive line. That's what it looked like out there in pass protection. The run game, I'd like to see it be a little bit better. But in pass protection, the Titans gave up 0 pressures as far as I saw. The only pressure I can remember is on the first third down, on the first drive, and that's not on the offensive line. Cam was extending the play and rolling to the sideline, and a defensive lineman broke away and started putting pressure on him. That's not on the offensive line. And I was looking at some of the live stats from Pro Football Focus's tracking. I didn't see any pressures, and I saw Dan Moore with the highest pass blocking grade of the first-team offensive line. Now, I got to go look and make sure that's updated after they do the final grades and all that. And some of you guys don't care about PFF anyway and don't believe it. But I don't think it's useless. I think it's pretty good, honestly, if I gave it a final assessment. It's not perfect, but I think it's pretty good. But the point is, we saw it. If the Tennessee Titans offensive line gives Cam Ward time, if the Tennessee Titans offensive line can be average or better than average this year in pass protection, that will allow Cam Ward to be comfortable and then start to tap in to the playmaking side. Right now, we need Cam Ward to get comfortable being boring. We need Cam Ward to be a good game manager. And once he is able to walk, then he can run. Once Cam Ward is comfortable with all the mundane and boring stuff of being an NFL quarterback, then he's able to tap into that extra mode. He's able to throw the cape on. We need him to be a good Clark Kent. And then eventually he can be a great Superman. That's what we need from Cam Ward right now. And the offensive line, allowing him to feel comfortable early in that process, that is absolutely critical. So, was it Tampa Bay's number 1 first-string pass rush? No, it was not. But it looked like a first-string offensive line against a second-string pass rush. That's what it looked like out there, and that's what it should look like out there. And last year's offensive line and the offensive line in 2022 and even at times in 2021 when there were injuries. In 2023 is what I skipped there. In 2024, the years fly by, folks. 7 seasons. This will be my 7th season covering the team. Blessed every day. Thank you so much for all of you guys. Tighten up. But it's been 3 seasons now where the Titans offensive line would have not had a great game against what the Buccaneers had out there on defense tonight. So I am very excited and encouraged by the Titans offensive line. Again, if they give Cam Ward time to work, it's going to totally change what he's capable of in his rookie year. So you have Cam Ward, who I thought checked all the boxes. Again, professional operation, great arm talent on display on the field, fought through adversity situationally with the 1st and 20, the 3rd and 6, and the 3rd and 9. The offensive line gave up no pressures, gave Cam Ward all the time that he needed and looked like they were the better unit, which they should have. Calvin Ridley in that connection, stonks are high. We're going to the moon with Calvin Ridley. Not everything was great in the game, and there is plenty to be worried about. I don't think this is a playoff team, folks. So it's not like this team was going to be absolutely insane and roll, and I think Tampa Bay is one of the best rosters in the NFL. So, of course, the Buccaneers rolled the Titans as an overall roster and team. These teams are in totally different places. So I'm not freaked out about that, but what we did see and what we can be excited about, I think most of that is real. Cam Ward's ready for this opportunity. Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward have a great connection, and the offensive line is much improved. All of those things are real, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to let anybody make me less excited and less hyped than I am right now by saying it's a preseason, it's this and that. Forget that, all right? And you should feel that way too. You're allowed to be excited about some of the positive things. Now, again, not everything was great. The Titans got absolutely smoked 29-7 in the game, and some of the things that I'm worried about with this team, well, let's just say I'm still very much worried about them. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest. Some days on the course or off it. I mean, I played golf this morning. I'm up late covering the game. 5 Hour Energy's getting me through this thing. Golf is all about good times with good people, and so is it preseason games. And good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, and that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends, trying to turn 18 holes into 36, or trying to play 18 and then cover a preseason game, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down everything you need to know from the Tennessee Titans preseason opening loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We talked Cam Ward and his performance. We talked about the other things to get excited about on the offensive side of the ball and Calvin Ridley and pass protection. Now, I want to talk about the defensive side of the ball, some of the concerns that I have coming out of this game, but not everything on defense was bad. There are a couple of things that I do want to talk about, but I want to remind you guys before we move forward that I appreciate you making Locked On Titans your first listen. Tomorrow, I'm going to have more of a zoom in on individual performances. We'll talk more about Femi Oladipo, James Williams, Jackson Slater, the rookie wide receivers. We got to talk about Xavier Restrepo. Not looking good for him right now based on the rotation in that game. So there's still a ton to dive into. I'm going to have film content and film discussions on the show, and joint practices with the Atlanta Falcons are coming up right away. So make sure, again, that you get subscribed, stay subscribed, become an everydayer. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. But on defense, first and foremost, let's talk about some good stuff. I thought James Williams was really solid in the game. He was one of the leading tacklers for the Titans. Last I checked, he was leading the defense in tackles. He had 7 tackles on the night, tied with Cedric Gray and Timmy Horn. I thought James Williams had a pretty good game. I thought he was physical in the run game. And on special teams, that very opening kickoff, James Williams actually rocked the Buccaneers returner. That was awesome. Laid the wood there. Appreciated that. I thought James Williams had a pretty solid day. He was around the ball consistently. It wasn't perfect, and I can't wait to get into the All-22 and see exactly how he read his keys and everything like that. But I thought James Williams, who played with the first team, continued playing throughout the first half with the second team as well. I thought it was a good opportunity for him and Cedric Gray to play next to each other. That was pretty cool. I thought James Williams had a pretty good day. And listen, I also want to say this. I thought Femi Oladipo was good in the game. A lot of you guys are like, he's out of control, he's slashing in, he's cutting in. The Titans are clearly running slants and running directional things. It's not like Femi is just choosing to dive to his inside gap and give up outside contain. Like, the Titans are clearly doing that on purpose, and I think the film will show that Femi wasn't just acting like Jadeveon Clowney in 2020 and freestyle and shooting gaps in different directions that he wasn't supposed to. That was the whole line slanted a certain way, and then the linebacker scraped over to the outside gap where Femi was, and it just wasn't well executed. People just don't quite understand what they're seeing sometimes when they see things. So I don't think Femi was as bad as people were saying. And I'm going to get more into Femi tomorrow, but some of the reactions, like literally Femi probably played like 20, 30 snaps at max. It was probably less than that. And people are like, oh, the Titans made a big mistake. He's not like, it's just crazy how when people are drafted, we're like, yeah, Femi Oladipo is a project. He's transitioning from off-ball linebacker to edge. It's going to take a while for him to understand, but, 2026, 2027, he could be absolutely fantastic. And that's why you bet on a player like that with great intangibles, great work ethic, great physical qualities and tools. in literally 20 snaps in the preseason where you don't understand what the defensive scheme is trying to accomplish. And now Femi Oladipo is a bust and was a wasted pick, and there's better edges on the board. We knew Mike Green was going to be better out of the gate than Femi. We knew that. Why are we, like one good ankle bend picture and people are freaking out? I get it, but come on, man. You guys, the timeline was crashing out hard after the first couple of drives of the game before Cam Ward got out there and put everybody back in their recliners, made everybody calm down. But overall on defense, there isn't really a lot to talk about that was good. I thought the defense was mid on that first drive. The contested catches is really what stood out to me. There were so many contested opportunities early on for the first and second string defense where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver just won. Jalen McMillan won one. Emeka Ibuka won one where it's third and long or it's a deep pass or it's a contested situation and that their wide receivers just won over the Titans defensive backs. And then as we got into the depth of the Titans defense, now we do have to talk about some of the bad stuff here before we go. So some of the things that really stood out to me that were concerning and have been concerning. It's not like it's a surprise. We're not surprised by these concerns. At least I hope you wouldn't be. But the Titans' interior defensive line depth is terrible. T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons didn't play in the game, and the Titans' interior defensive line got pushed around all game, and the Bucs were able to run for a ton of yards. What'd they run for? 178 yards. They ran for on the Titans. The Titans' interior defensive line depth is terrible. And what happens is Denard Wilson, this is what we saw last year. Denard Wilson tries to rotate the defensive line like he did in Baltimore or like they did in Philly or like they did with the New York Jets when he was there, when they had really good defensive line depth and defensive line talent was the best part of their team. And Baltimore always has a good defensive line rotation, and we know Philly, the type of talent they always have on the defensive line. Well, he's trying to do that here so that Sweat and SJD and Simmons and Key and the people who matter so that they're fresh. But the problem is the drop-off in talent. This team is terrible. This roster is terrible. So, of course, we look at the starting lineups and we're like, hey, the offensive line will be improved. Calvin Ridley's good. Tony Pollard is pretty good. On defense, Simmons, Sweat, Hooker, Snead, Barton, there's good players. But the problem is football truly is a team game. And that's why the preseason matters, because the depth matters. And the Titans are struggling right now to have good starting level talent. The Titans are at the bottom of the barrel in starting level talent. So of course they'd be at the bottom of the barrel in depth level talent. And that's why when the interior defensive line depth comes on the field last year, the run defense would fall off a cliff and look awful. All right? And that's why this year, when you don't see T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons on the interior defensive line, the run defense is awful because the Titans' interior defensive line depth is not good. And I complained about it all last year, and I complained about it this year. And look, it's boring. We're talking about nose tackles and 3 techniques and 5 techniques and the Keandre Coburns and Carlos Watkins and Cam Horsley's. Like, these are boring players to talk about who people can barely recognize if they're doing good or bad anyway. So it's not good podcast conversation, and I know it. But the reality is it is a significant problem on the team that Denard Wilson is a rotation-based defensive guy, and he's probably correct in that. And all good teams with good defensive lines and stuff do have a pretty good rotation. But the Titans can't do that because the drop-off is too far. And we saw them get rolled out there tonight after the first string talent around them was gone. And it makes the linebackers look worse, and it makes the safeties and the DBs look worse and everything. And then on top of that, the cornerback depth is bad. The Titans' cornerbacks are bad. If L'Jarius Sneed is not out there, and L'Jarius Sneed is not good, and the cornerback depth is, I think the Titans seriously, and it may be after the game against Atlanta, but I've talked about names, Asante Samuel Jr., Rasul Douglas. They need to at least consider a move like that, something like that. But again, on defense, the interior defensive line depth, the cornerback depth is really bad. And the backup quarterback situation is a disaster. But here's the thing. I'll talk more about backup quarterbacks tomorrow. Everybody's freaking out about how bad they are. Whatever, I've talked so much this offseason about what the plan at backup quarterback is and should be, and it's Brandon Allen being garbage and teaching Cam Ward the offense just like he did for Joe Burrow. It's the same thing. If Cam Ward gets hurt, I don't want to win games. I want a top 5 pick to get that elite edge rusher of the future. Look at the Bengals. When Joe Burrow got hurt his rookie year, they were terrible. They got a top 5 pick. They got Jamar Chase. I don't want to win games if Cam Ward is hurt. What are we doing? We're not making progress towards a Super Bowl if Cam Ward's not out there. So I don't care about the backup quarterback position. I would rather have somebody who sucks but is a good teacher for Cam Ward, because all that matters is Cam Ward. So I mean, Tim Boyle's not making the team. I don't care if Brandon Allen is good or not. That's not the point. So that I'm not worried about in the lives. But they are bad. They are bad, my friends. That is a confirmed fact. I just don't care that they're bad. That's not the point all along. So anyways. The last couple of things I want to say here is very concerned about the Tyjae Spears injury. They're calling it a lower leg injury. We have to hope that it's just like an ankle sprain and he's out for a couple of weeks. But, man, Tyjae just can't stay healthy, and he looks so explosive, but you just can't rely on him. And if he's out into the regular season, if this is like a 2-month injury or something like that, the Titans are really screwed at running back, because I've told you, we'll talk more about this tomorrow as well, Tony Pollard ain't going to make it through another season like he did last year. That ain't going to work. And Julius Chestnut is not an NFL running back. He's a practice squad guy. So that's not Mullings isn't the answer in year 1 anyways either. So defensive depth, interior defensive line, cornerback, Tyjae Spears injury, the backup quarterback situation concerning. Sweat had tonsils removed, I believe is what they said on the TV broadcast. Sweat will be back in practice this week, so that's great news that the abdominal injury is getting your tonsils removed. I don't know how they abdominal for tonsils, but I'm not a doctor. Big Jeff and Kevin Zeitler didn't play in this game. It's funny, those are the two in my preview on Friday, I said those are the two names who you could probably debate shouldn't play, but I still wanted to see them, but I totally understand. Anyway, yeah, what are you talking about? Chestnut played well tonight. He always does in August. Chestnut is Mr. August. He always plays well in the preseason, and he fools you guys into thinking that he's good. Chestnut is not good, and they can't go into the season with Tony Pollard and Julius Chestnut as the running back duo. That's a disaster. So, anyways, with that being said, Cam Ward got us hyped tonight. He checked the boxes, did what he needed to do. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing Tighten Up and Tighten Down, looking more at individual performances throughout this game. I'm going to have a ton of breakdowns this week off this game and how I think these guys played and where they can go. Joint practices right around the corner. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. Get subscribed, stay subscribed. That's going to do it for me today, though. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.